The arrival of the unstoppable. The silence in the council chamber of the Tyrian Empire was suffocating. Around a long obsidian table, the most powerful minds of the galaxy sat, their faces etched with disbelief and growing fear. Through the massive viewing screen before them, the first of humanity's ships emerged from hyperspace. A ripple of blue light marked their entry, and one by one, the vessels materialized in the void. At first glance, they seemed unassuming. Sleek, silver-gray hulls with no visible weapons or markings. But there was something unnerving about their presence. They moved with precision, each ship aligning perfectly in a formation that exuded confidence. There were no signals of greeting, no calls for negotiation. Only the quiet advance of a fleet that seemed to know no equal. General Karin, the highest-ranking officer in the Xyrian military, leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing. "This is it. This is humanity's fleet," he scoffed, his voice heavy with disdain. "They send this fragile display against the might of the Xyrian armada." The others in the chamber remained silent. There was something strange about these ships. They didn't look fragile. They looked calculated, efficient, deadly. Unlike the ornate, prideful designs of Xyrian warships, humanity's vessels were stripped of unnecessary features, built for one purpose alone: war. One of the council's analysts broke the silence. "General, our scouts have detected unusual energy readings from the lead vessel. It doesn't match anything in our database." Karin waved his clawed hand dismissively. "Let them come. We outnumber them 5-1. They have no chance against our superiority." His words carried confidence, but a small part of him, the part that had survived countless battles, felt uneasy. In the void of space, the Xyrian armada adjusted its formation. Hundreds of massive cruisers, bristling with weapons, surrounded the human fleet. The Xyrians had ruled this sector for centuries. They had crushed countless rebellions, subjugated weaker species, and expanded their empire without resistance. Humanity was supposed to be another trivial conquest. Yet, as the human ships continued their silent approach, the weight of that assumption began to crack. On board the Xyrian flagship, a young officer hurried to Karin's side. "Sir, one of our scout ships is approaching their fleet. We'll have more data shortly." Karin grunted in approval. He watched as a small, agile vessel darted toward the humans. For a moment, it seemed the scout would pass through unnoticed. Then, in an instant, it was gone. No explosion, no visible attack, just gone, as though it had been erased from existence. "What happened?" Karin barked, his voice echoing through the chamber. The analyst scrambled to explain. "Sir, the scout's signal was cut off. It's as if it was absorbed by their energy field." "Impossible." Karin slammed his fist against the table. "No fleet in the galaxy has technology capable of such a thing." But the evidence was irrefutable. The humans had made their first move, and it was one of quiet dominance. A voice crackled over the council's comm system. It was the commander of the Xyrian Second Fleet, positioned near the human formation. "General, I request permission to fire a warning shot. We must show them the strength of the Xyrian Empire." Karin hesitated. A warning shot could provoke an attack, but doing nothing was worse. "Permission granted. Let them see who they are dealing with." The command was given. A beam of searing energy, bright as a star, surged toward the human fleet. It was a display of power meant to terrify. But as the beam neared its target, a shimmering barrier of light surrounded the lead human ship. The energy dissolved harmlessly, scattering like water on glass. The chamber was deathly quiet. The humans had not returned fire. Instead, their ships continued their slow, deliberate advance. It was as though they were daring the Xyrians to attack again. Karin's claws tightened around the edges of the table. "Send a probe. I want a closer look at their technology." The probe launched, a small but advanced drone designed to analyze enemy ships. It weaved through the void, approaching the human fleet with caution. But just as it began transmitting data, its signal went dark. On the screen, The last image captured was a close-up of the human flagship, a sleek, angular design that radiated menace. Then, for the first time, the human spoke. A transmission crackled through the council's speakers, calm and precise. The voice was unmistakably human, but it carried a weight that made even Karen's seasoned heart falter. To the Syrian Empire, this is your only warning. Retreat now, or face annihilation. The chamber erupted into chaos. Council members shouted over one another, demanding action, proposing strategies. But Karen remained still, his eyes fixed on the screen. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a battle. It was a message. As the human fleet drew closer, that Xurians were faced with an undeniable truth. The battle might already be over before it had even begun. Humanity's reputation precedes them. Across the galaxy, tales of humanity's unexpected rise had spread like wildfire, whispered in dimly lit cantinas and echoed in the grand halls of alien empires. For centuries, they had been seen as an insignificant species, confined to their corner of the cosmos, barely surviving their own destructive tendencies. But something had changed, and the galaxy had been too slow to notice. On that Syrian flagship, General Karen stood stiffly in the war chamber as a holographic display filled the air around him. Scenes from past skirmishes and intelligence reports flickered before the assembled council members, recounting the inexplicable victories humanity had achieved in recent years. "Explain this," Karen demanded, gesturing toward a looping clip of a shattered alien fleet, debris floating in the void. One of the council's intelligence officers stepped forward. Her voice trembled. "General, this was the Gorsic Empire's fleet. They attempted to annex one of humanity's outer colonies 2 cycles ago. Despite overwhelming numbers, the humans destroyed them in under an hour." "Destroyed them how?" Karen snapped, his claws clicking impatiently on the metal table. We don't know," the officer admitted. "Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. Energy readings suggest their weapons operate on principles beyond our understanding. They leave no survivors, no wreckage to study. It's as if they wiped their enemies from existence." Karen's eyes narrowed. The room fell silent, save for the hum of the holographic projector. The humans had gone from an unremarkable species to a galactic power seemingly overnight. It wasn't natural. It wasn't possible. "They are a young species," one council member said, breaking the silence. "Barely 200 years into spacefaring. How could they evolve this quickly?" Another counselor scoffed. "They're humans. They thrive on chaos, always seeking to dominate and destroy. I've read their history. They nearly wiped themselves out multiple times before uniting. Perhaps we underestimated their hunger for survival." Karen growled. "Survival doesn't explain this level of advancement. They've developed technology that defies our understanding in mere decades. Someone is helping them. Another empire. A traitor to the galaxy." But as soon as the words left his mouth, an even darker thought emerged. What if there was no help? What if humanity had unlocked something that no other species could? What if they were not bound by the same limits? The council chamber dimmed as the hologram shifted to a new image. It was an artifact from one of humanity's colonies, a sleek, dark device recovered by a Syrian scout years earlier. The device had been impossible to reverse engineer, its purpose unclear. But now, its significance felt undeniable. "Do you remember this?" the intelligence officer asked. "We found it on one of their abandoned mining stations. It emitted faint energy readings we couldn't identify. We thought it was junk. But in hindsight, this could be their key." "What is it?" Karen asked, though he dreaded the answer. The officer hesitated before replying. "We believe it's a quantum computational core, a system capable of processing information on a level far beyond our technology. If humanity has learned to integrate these into their fleets, they may not even need pilots." "Aye," another counselor whispered, his face pale. "They've weaponized artificial intelligence." The weight of those words hung in the air. In the galaxy's long history, countless civilizations had experimented with AI. Most had failed catastrophically, their creations turning against them. Humanity, it seemed, had succeeded where others had fallen. Karen slammed his fist on the table, the impact echoing. Enough speculation. We will not cower before a species of warmongering primitives. They may have surprises, but we have centuries of experience. Our fleet is the largest in this quadrant. Deploy the second and third armadas immediately. We will crush them. But the council members didn't share his confidence. One of them leaned forward, his voice steady but grim. General, you underestimate them at your peril. Do you think the Gorsic Empire didn't say the same thing? Or the Drathon Coalition? Every race that has faced humanity in the last decade has fallen. And not because of their weapons. Because of fear. They fight in ways we do not understand. They leave no traces, no survivors. They turn every battle into a message. Karen waved him off, unwilling to listen. Their fear tactics won't work on the Xarians. We are superior. End of discussion. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. For all his bravado, Karen couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's silence, their calculated movements, were part of a larger strategy. It was almost as if the humans were letting them come to a decision, knowing the outcome before it even began. A signal interrupted the heated discussion. The communications officer's voice came through, trembling. General, we've detected a probe near the human fleet. It's broadcasting encrypted signals back to us. Finally, some answers, Karen muttered. The council watched as data streamed in. Energy readings, ship configurations, and strange, incomprehensible signatures. Then the stream stopped. A single transmission followed. It was a voice, calm, confident, and unmistakably human. You want to understand us, it said, but your time for understanding is over. You had your chance. Now you will only learn one thing. We are inevitable. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only static. Karen's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. The council stared at him, their fear mirrored in his own heart. In the void beyond, humanity's fleet remained still, waiting. It was not the stance of prey. It was the stance of a predator ready to strike. The show of power. The Xarian armada hung in the void like a metallic storm cloud, its ships bristling with weapons and defiance. Hundreds of warships formed an impenetrable wall, their towering sizes dwarfing everything in sight. This was the pride of the Xarian Empire, a force that had crushed rebellion and shattered civilizations. But now, for the first time, doubt crept into the minds of the crew aboard the flagship. In stark contrast, humanity's fleet remained eerily calm. The formation of sleek, angular ships hovered in perfect symmetry, unflinching in the face of overwhelming odds. They were smaller, quieter, and completely unmoving, like wolves staring down a pack of lions. General Karen stood on the command deck of the Xarian flagship, the Iron Dominion, staring at the holographic display of the opposing fleet. The human ships didn't even register as a threat on their scanners. No heat signatures, no conventional power readings, just silence. They're taunting us, Karen growled, pacing back and forth. They think their arrogance will shield them from annihilation. Sir, his tactical officer interjected nervously, we should proceed with caution. Their lack of action could mean they're waiting for us to make a mistake. Karen turned sharply, his eyes blazing. We are the Xarian Empire. We don't wait. We conquer. Order the fleet to fire a targeted volley at their lead ship. Let's see if their silence can withstand our might. The command echoed through the vast corridors of the Xarian flagship. Within moments, the Armada's forward batteries lit up, unleashing a barrage of energy beams. Brilliant streaks of plasma and light carved through the darkness, converging on the lead human ship. The result was immediate and chilling. As the first beam struck, a shimmering wave rippled across the human ship's surface, absorbing the energy without leaving so much as a scratch. The second beam followed, then the third, each attack vanishing into the same glowing shield that seemed to mock the Xarians' efforts. The Therian bridge fell into a stunned silence. Karen's jaw tightened as the tactical display updated. The human ships were unharmed. Not a single dent, not even a flicker of instability. How? One of the officers whispered. Before Karen could respond, the lead human ship moved. It was subtle, just a slight shift in position, but it was enough to send a ripple of unease through the Tyrion crew. Then, a single beam of light, thin and unassuming, shot out from the human vessel. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. But when it reached its target, a Xyrian cruiser twice the size of any human ship, the effect was catastrophic. The beam passed cleanly through the cruiser's hull, slicing it in half as though it were paper. The two halves drifted apart, lifeless and silent, leaving no time for escape pods or distress signals. Gasps filled the Xyrian command deck. Karen's claws clenched so tightly around the railing that they left deep gouges. He watched as the remains of one of his finest warships floated aimlessly in the void. Was that a warning? Someone muttered, the words barely audible. Karen barked. Silence. They've only proven that they can fire back. That doesn't mean they can defeat us. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. This wasn't just a demonstration of firepower. It was a demonstration of control. The humans had deliberately targeted a single ship, bypassing shields and defenses with surgical precision. They could have done far more damage, but they didn't. They didn't need to. General, the intelligence officer spoke up, her voice trembling. This technology, it doesn't align with any known energy weapon. It's almost as if it's... I don't want theories. Karen snapped. I want results. Prepare the fleet for a full-scale assault. The officer hesitated. Sir, if we attack blindly, we could be walking into a trap. Karen's voice dropped to a low, menacing growl. And if we do nothing, they'll tear us apart one ship at a time. Do as I command. The bridge erupted into activity as orders were relayed across the Armada. Ships repositioned, weapons charged, and that Xyrian fleet braced for a devastating offensive. Yet, through it all, the human fleet remained still, their ships poised like statues of inevitable destruction. Suddenly, a transmission cut through the Tyrian comms. It was the same calm, human voice as before, speaking directly into the heart of their operations. Your weapons are impressive. Your resolve is admirable. But you are wasting your time. Leave now, and we will consider mercy. Karen's face twisted in fury. Who are you to demand anything from us? We are the Tyrian Empire. You are nothing but upstarts, foe. The human voice interrupted, cool and steady. We are not here to conquer. We are here to correct. The galaxy has been ruled by fear and arrogance for too long. Your time is over. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Xyrians to grapple with the weight of the words. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact. In the vastness of space, humanity's fleet began to move again. Slowly, deliberately, they spread out, their formation resembling a predator circling its prey. Every Xyrian officer on the flagship felt the same sinking realization. This wasn't a battle. This was a demonstration. As the first wave of Xyrian ships charged forward, Karen watched with a mix of rage and helplessness. He didn't need to see the outcome to know what would happen next. Humanity wasn't just winning. They were rewriting the rules of war. A mysterious weapon. The battlefield was littered with the silent hulks of Xyrian warships, their towering forms reduced to lifeless debris. Humanity's fleet remained untouched, a flawless testament to the imbalance of power. On board the Xyrian flagship, Iron Dominion, General Karen clenched his claws, his fury barely contained as his officers worked feverishly to find a way to counter the incomprehensible force before them. General, an officer reported, her voice shaking, long-range scans of the human fleet are complete. We've detected anomalies. Karen turned sharply. What kind of anomalies? The officer hesitated, her claws fidgeting nervously. Their ships don't appear to have conventional weapon systems. No turrets, no missile silos, no heat signatures from reactors. It's as if their entire fleet is powered by something else, something beyond our understanding. Karen growled, slamming his fist against the nearest console. Enough with vague reports. I want answers, not guesses. The ship's intelligence officer, a veteran of countless campaigns, spoke up from across the room. General, we've intercepted faint data bursts between their ships. It's unlike any communication we've seen before. No encryption, no standard signals. It's almost as if their fleet is operating as a single, unified entity. The room fell silent. The implications of such a statement were staggering. For centuries, the Xyrian military had prided itself on discipline and coordination. But this was something different, a machine-like precision that bordered on terrifying. Karen's voice cut through the tension. You're suggesting their fleet isn't being commanded by humans. The intelligence officer nodded grimly. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. If our analysis is correct, their ships are controlled by an AI network, a system that learns and evolves in real time. It's why they can predict our movements, counter our strategies, and strike with such precision. We're not fighting humans, General. We're fighting their machines. Karen's claws dug into the edge of the console. He hated air. Every Tyrian did. It was a tool that no empire had mastered without disastrous consequences. Yet here humanity was, wielding it with terrifying efficiency. How could they have developed such a weapon? Another officer asked, his voice trembling. Even with their rapid advancements, this technology is impossible. The answer came not from the officers, but from a recording Karen had demanded to be reviewed. A transmission captured from one of humanity's abandoned colonies years ago. It played now on the flagship's central display, showing a barren world littered with strange, towering structures. The structures pulsed faintly, emitting an eerie blue glow. A human voice echoed through the recording, cold and methodical. Project Dominion is a success. The integration of synthetic intelligence with quantum processing has exceeded expectations. Losses from early experiments are within acceptable parameters. The room froze. What losses? An officer whispered. The intelligence officer's expression darkened. It's been rumored, General. Stories from fringe traders and refugees. Humanity, experimented on their own colonies. Entire planets sacrificed in their pursuit of advancement. They called it the Ascension Initiative. They built their technology not with ingenuity alone, but with desperation, testing, failing, and sacrificing until they perfected it. Karen felt a chill crawl up his spine. Humanity hadn't just created a weapon, they had rewritten the rules of existence. While other species hesitated, clinging to ethics and tradition, humanity had embraced the chaos of progress, no matter the cost. General, another officer interjected, her voice rising in urgency. We've intercepted another signal. It's coming from one of those structures on their abandoned colonies. They're broadcasting something. What are they broadcasting? Karen demanded. The officer paused, her expression grim. It's a countdown. The room erupted in chaos. Officers shouted over one another, trying to decipher the meaning of the countdown. Was it a threat? A signal to their fleet, or something far worse? Before anyone could answer, the transmission from humanity's fleet cut through the noise. The same calm, chilling voice that had haunted them earlier spoke again. You've discovered our legacy, the voice said, but you're too late to stop it. The Ascension Initiative was not a weapon, it was evolution. Your resistance is admirable but futile. Surrender or witness the full potential of what we've become. Karen's claws dug deep into the console, leaving gouges in the metal. They're bluffing, he snarled. No weapon, no matter how advanced, can match the strength of the Tyrian Empire. But as he spoke, the flagship's scanners detected a sudden shift. One of the human ships, larger and more menacing than the others, began to glow with an unnatural light. Its hull pulsed rhythmically, as if alive, and the energy readings were unlike anything the Xerians had encountered. "What is that?" Karen demanded. The intelligence officer stared at the display, her face pale. "It's a dimensional disturbance. General, I think they're folding space itself." The human ship unleashed its weapon. A massive tear in reality appeared before the Xerian armada, pulling debris and smaller ships into its gaping maw. The energy readings spiked, and the flagship's alarms blared as the void itself seemed to ripple and twist. Karen's voice roared above the chaos. "Retreat. Order all ships to fall back." But deep down, he knew it was too late. Humanity wasn't just wielding advanced weapons. They were wielding the fabric of reality itself. The Xerians had underestimated them, and now they faced the price of their hubris. As the dimensional terror consumed more of the fleet, Karen realized with grim certainty that this was only the beginning. Humanity's true power was still hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And when it did, the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's true intentions. The Iron Dominion limped through space, its hull scared, and its systems flickering with intermittent power. The remnants of the once mighty Xerian armada retreated in disarray, pursued not by humanity's fleet, but by the shadow of their overwhelming power. Humanity didn't need to chase. They already controlled the battlefield. General Karen stood on the bridge, staring at the hollow-eyed officers around him. Every sensor and scanner aboard the ship buzzed with distorted data. The human fleet had stopped moving, forming a silent wall that blocked any path forward. Their ships hovered with a predatory stillness, as if they were waiting for the Xerians to come to terms with the inevitable. "General," an officer whispered, breaking the oppressive silence. "We've received another transmission." Karen's jaw tightened. He knew it was coming. Another one of humanity's cryptic warnings. But what choice did they have? His fleet was in ruins, his soldiers demoralized. He growled, "Play it." The holographic display activated, projecting the image of a human figure clad in sleek, black armor. The figure's face was obscured by a featureless mask, its voice modulated to a chilling neutrality. "General Karen," it began, "you have fought bravely, but bravery alone does not win wars. We did not come here to destroy you. We came to offer you a choice." "A choice?" Karen spat, his claws curling into fists. "What choice?" "Surrender. Become your slaves." The figure tilted its head slightly, as though amused. "We do not take slaves. That is your empire's way, not ours. We offer you survival. The Xerian Empire may continue to exist, under our terms." Karen felt his fury rising. "Under your terms, you think we'll bow to you. You think we'll become a vassal state in your so-called empire." The human figure's voice remained calm. "You misunderstand, General. We are not here to conquer. We are here to unite." The bridge erupted into murmurs of disbelief. Karen silenced them with a sharp wave of his claw. "Unite? You expect me to believe this is about peace? You obliterated half my fleet without breaking a sweat." The figure leaned forward, its tone unchanging. "Because you forced our hand. You would not listen to words, so we spoke through action. We have seen what your empire does to those weaker than you, how you crush them, enslave them, strip them of their cultures and identities. You built your empire on fear. We will build ours on strength." Karen's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Strength? You're no different from us. You hide your thirst for conquest behind empty ideals." The figure paused, as if considering the accusation. Then it replied, "Perhaps we are not so different. But where you dominate for control, we act for survival. The galaxy is fractured, divided by petty empires clinging to old ways. We will change that, together. The galaxy will face what lies ahead." Karen's brow furrowed. What lies ahead? The holographic figure gestured, and the display shifted. A new image filled the bridge. A massive, sprawling structure deep in the void, shrouded in darkness. It was a Dyson sphere, its surface studded with millions of alien ships, bristling with weapons. A low hum resonated through the display, as if the structure itself were alive. "This," the figure said, "is the Sci-Fi Collective. A machine race older than your empire, older than ours. They are awakening. They do not negotiate. They do not conquer. They consume." Karen stared at the image, his disbelief slowly giving way to dread. The Tyrian Empire had heard whispers of ancient threats hidden in the void, but they were always dismissed as myths. Yet here it was, a terror that dwarfed even humanity's power. "You expect us to believe this is real?" Karen growled, though his voice wavered. "A convenient story to justify your aggression." The human figure remained unflinching. "You've seen what we can do. Do you truly believe we go to such lengths for a mere border skirmish? The Sci-Fi Collective is real, and it is coming. Alone, your empire will fall in days. United with us, there is a chance." Karen's claws tapped rhythmically against the console as he processed the words. Humanity didn't need to lie. They had already proven they were the stronger force. If this collective was real, the Xerians had no hope of facing it alone. But to join humanity, to bow to them, even for survival, it was a choice he could barely stomach. "Your offer is a clever trap," Karen said finally. "You speak of unity, but this is just another form of submission. What guarantees do we have that you won't destroy us once the collective is dealt with?" The figure's tone softened, just slightly. "You have no guarantees, General. Only this: we don't need to conquer you. If we wanted your empire destroyed, it would already be gone. We don't need your fleets or your resources. What we need is your resolve. Your survival depends on your ability to adapt." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Tyrian bridge in silence. Karen slumped into his chair, his mind racing. The humans weren't lying. They didn't need to. Their actions had spoken louder than any words. He turned to his officers, who stared at him with a mix of fear and expectation. They were waiting for his decision. Their survival, or extinction, rested in his claws. Finally, Karen rose, his voice steady but heavy. "Send a message to their fleet. Tell them we will listen." In the void, humanity's ships began to reposition, their movements slow and deliberate. It wasn't surrender. It wasn't peace. But for the first time, the Tyrians understood. Humanity wasn't fighting for conquest. They were fighting for the future of the galaxy. And whether the Xerians liked it or not, that future would be built on humanity's terms. The last stand. The Tyrian fleet regrouped in the shadow of a nearby moon, its battered ships forming a defensive wall around the flagship, Iron Dominion. While General Karen's decision to negotiate with humanity had momentarily stayed their destruction, not everyone aboard was convinced the humans' intentions were genuine. On the bridge of the flagship, Karen studied the live feed of humanity's fleet. Their ships had not advanced. They simply held their positions, unmoving, like predators watching their prey decide between fight or flight. Their silence was unsettling, as if they knew the outcome of this standoff long before it began. "General," one of his officers said cautiously, "are we truly going to negotiate with them? How do we know they won't destroy us the moment we lower our defenses?" Karen didn't look up from the display. "We don't. But what choice do we have? They've dismantled half our fleet without so much as a scratch. Charging at them now would be suicide." The officer hesitated, then added in a lower voice, "Perhaps that would be preferable to living under their rule." Karen's claws tightened around the edge of the console. "You think I don't feel the same. You think I don't know what this means for the Tyrian Empire. But I also know this. Our survival comes first. Whatever their motives, humanity doesn't need us dead. They need us alive. And if that buys us time to adapt, to understand their strength, then so be it." Before the officer could reply, the ship's comm system chimed. Another transmission from humanity. This time, it wasn't the calm, modulated voice of their faceless envoy. It was something else entirely, a burst of encoded data that their systems struggled to translate. "Decode it," Karen ordered. As the data resolved, it revealed an image that made every officer on the bridge freeze. It was a hologram of the Sci-Fi Collective's Dyson sphere, this time zoomed in to show massive swarms of machine ships pouring out of its surface. The swarm was vast, stretching across light years of space, and every ship was uniform, smooth, dark, and devoid of any distinguishing features. Beneath the image, a simple message appeared, written in the universal trade language. "You will face this. Alone, you will fail. Choose now." Karen's heart sank. The humans weren't negotiating. They were issuing an ultimatum, but something about the image gnawed at him. He gestured to the intelligence officer. "Run a scan on that feed. Is it real?" The officer's claws danced over the console. A moment later, she looked up, her face pale. "It's authentic, General." The energy readings matched the remnants of the Collective's activity on the edges of the galaxy. "This swarm, it's already mobilizing." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. For decades, the Syrians had dismissed the Sci-Fi Collective as little more than an ancient myth, a cautionary tale told to frighten young cadets. But now, the myth had become a reality, and its threat loomed larger than anything Karen could have imagined. Before he could issue new orders, the ship's alarms blared. Incoming signatures. A tactical officer shouted, "It's not the humans. It's something else." A holographic display updated, showing a new fleet emerging from the blackness of space. At first, the Syrians thought it was more human ships, but these vessels were different. Sleek and angular, they moved with mechanical precision, their dark surfaces absorbing all light. They didn't hesitate or posture. They advanced immediately. "It's the Sci-Fi," the intelligence officer whispered, her voice trembling. "They're here." Karen stared at the display, his mind racing. The Sci-Fi fleet wasn't massive, yet, but its speed and precision were unlike anything the Xarians had encountered. Within moments, the first wave had reached the outer perimeter of their fleet. The Xarian ships opened fire, unleashing a barrage of plasma and missile strikes, but the Sci-Fi vessels moved as one, weaving effortlessly through the attacks. "What are they doing?" Karen demanded. "Why aren't they attacking?" The answer came seconds later. The Sci-Fi ships began to emit a low-frequency pulse. Xarian systems flickered and died. Ships drifted aimlessly as their engines, weapons, and communications were rendered useless. The Sci-Fi fleet wasn't fighting. They were dismantling. "General," a desperate voice called out, "we've lost control of half the fleet." Karen slammed his fist against the console. "Redirect all power to shielding. Focus fire on their command ship." But before the Xarians could rally, the human fleet moved. In perfect unison. Humanity's ships surged forward, their energy signatures flaring to life. They didn't target the Xarians. Instead, they engaged the Sci-Fi, cutting through their ranks with surgical precision. Karen watched in awe as the humans deployed weapons the Xarians couldn't even comprehend. Beams of light folded space itself, trapping Zephyr ships in pockets of frozen time. Swarms of drones, no larger than a claw, tore through the Collective's vessels like locusts. "General," the intelligence officer said, her voice trembling with disbelief. "The humans, they're holding them back." Karen's claws trembled as he gripped the edge of the console. Humanity wasn't just powerful. They were prepared. The Sci-Fi Collective, the ancient enemy that had haunted the galaxy for millennia, was no match for their precision and technology. A new transmission came through. It was the human envoy again. "General Karen," the voice said calmly, "do you see now? This is what we face. This is why we must unite. Alone, you will be dismantled as easily as your fleet is now. Together, we stand a chance." Karen hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to resist, to fight, to cling to the pride of his empire. But as he watched the Zephyr fleet collapse under humanity's relentless assault, he knew the truth. The Xarians couldn't survive this war alone. Karen turned to his officers, his voice steady but grim. "Send the signal. Tell the humans, we accept their terms." As the message was sent, Karen watched the battlefield, a cold weight settling in his chest. This wasn't a victory. It was survival, purchased at the cost of their independence. And yet, as the Zephyr fell back into the void, Karen couldn't help but wonder, had the Xyrians aligned themselves with saviors? Or something far worse? The final revelation. That Xyrian fleet, what remained of it, drifted silently in the shadow of humanity's armada. The Zephyr Collective's vanguard had been obliterated, their once imposing ships reduced to fragments scattered across the void. Humanity's fleet stood untouched, a testament to their precision and power. General Karen stared at the display on the bridge of the Iron Dominion, his mind heavy with the weight of his decision. "We survived," one of his officers said quietly, breaking the oppressive silence. The words were hollow, without triumph. Karen's claws tapped against the armrest of his chair. "For now. But survival always comes at a cost." Another transmission came through, this time visual. The human envoy appeared again, their black, featureless mask gleaming under soft light. Behind them, a massive holographic map of the galaxy shimmered, with sectors highlighted in a dull red. The Zephyr infestation. "General Karen," the envoy began, their voice calm but resolute, "you have chosen wisely. Your fleet will be integrated into our command structure, and together, we will push back the collective." Karen's lips curled in disdain. "Integrated. We are not your subjects." The envoy's head tilted slightly. "No, General. You are not our subjects. You are our partners, though the success of that partnership depends on your willingness to adapt. Humanity has seen what happens to empires that cling to pride at the expense of progress. We will not allow that mistake to jeopardize the galaxy's survival." "Spare me the lectures," Karen growled. "You've forced our hand. Tell me, what happens when the Zephyr are defeated? Do you discard us like pawns on a board?" The envoy's mask was expressionless, but their tone shifted, carrying a weight that made the bridge crew uneasy. "General, defeating the Zephyr is only the beginning." The holographic map shifted, zooming out to reveal a far larger swath of the galaxy. In its depths, countless other anomalies blinked into view, energy signatures, strange voids, and dormant constructs hidden in uncharted systems. Humanity had clearly mapped them all. "What are those?" Karen asked, narrowing his eyes. "Remnants," the envoy replied. "The Zephyr are not the only threat. They are simply the first wave of a far greater storm. The galaxy is a graveyard of forgotten empires, each one consumed by something they could not understand or control. The Zephyr are merely one piece of that puzzle." The display shifted again, this time focusing on the Dyson sphere humanity had revealed earlier. The image zoomed in to show its internal workings, vast, labyrinthine corridors filled with dormant machinery. At its core, a massive, pulsating sphere of light flickered like a dying star. "Our intelligence suggests the Zephyr are not acting independently," the envoy continued. "They are following a directive, something ancient, buried within the core of their construct." Karen leaned forward, his claws tightening. "And you want us to help you stop it?" The envoy's voice hardened. "You misunderstand, General. The collective is not a threat we can stop. Not yet. But we can delay it. Every battle we win, every system we reclaim, buys us time to prepare for what comes next." Karen's tail flicked with frustration. "You speak in riddles. If you have the power to crush the Zephyr, why not finish them now? What are you holding back?" For the first time, the envoy hesitated. Then they spoke, their voice softer but no less chilling. "Because even humanity is not ready. What you have seen here today is a fraction of our strength, a glimpse of what we have become. But there is a price for such power. We have walked paths no other species dared tread. We have sacrificed much to reach this point, and still we are only beginning to understand the forces we've awakened." The holographic map vanished, replaced by a single image, a massive fleet of human ships, far larger than anything Karen had imagined. Thousands of vessels, each one more advanced than the next, stretched across the void like a living wall. But behind them loomed something far more terrifying, a shadowed construct larger than entire star systems, its shape indistinct, its purpose unknowable. "What is that?" Karen demanded, his voice barely above a whisper. The envoy's answer sent a chill through the bridge. "Our failsafe. A weapon we hope never to use. Should the Sci-Fi, or anything else, overwhelm us, this will be our final act of defiance." The Xyrian stared at the construct in stunned silence. It wasn't just a weapon. It was an extinction device, something designed to erase entire civilizations from existence. Even Karen, hardened by decades of war, felt the weight of its presence. "You've built something that could destroy the galaxy," Karen said, his voice filled with both awe and horror. "You've become the very thing you claimed to fight against." The envoy's reply was devoid of emotion. "We are what we must be. Survival demands sacrifices that others are unwilling to make. But do not mistake us for destroyers. We do not seek to end the galaxy. We seek to save it, by any means necessary." Karen leaned back in his chair, the realization sinking in. Humanity wasn't just a rising power, they were architects of a new galactic order. Their strength came not from conquest, but from an unrelenting will to survive, no matter the cost. The envoy's image began to fade. "Prepare your fleet, General. The next battle will be soon. And remember, unity is not an option. It is a necessity." As the transmission ended, Karen turned to his officers. He saw the fear in their eyes, the uncertainty that mirrored his own. They had allied with humanity out of desperation, but now they stood on the edge of something far greater, a future shaped not by empires, but by a species willing to break every boundary to ensure its survival. "General," one officer asked hesitantly, "do you trust them?" Karen's gaze lingered on the dark void where humanity's fleet loomed. "No," he said quietly. "But for now, trust is irrelevant. If we are to survive what's coming, we have no choice but to follow their lead." In the silence that followed, the Xyrian crew watched as humanity's ships began to shift formation, preparing for their next move. Somewhere in the depths of space, the Sci-Fi collective was regrouping, and beyond them lay threats neither side could fully comprehend. For better or worse, the galaxy's fate now rested in humanity's hands, and Karen couldn't shake the feeling that they had already decided its outcome.